Shalom friends, and welcome to tutorial number 6. We are in learning the Hebrew Alef-Bet series. Give me just a second, I get my pen set up. We get started. In this video we're going to learn the final mem. Now we learned the initial and the medial mem in the last video. So in this video we're going to learn the final form of it. There are 5 letters in Hebrew that have a final form. And a lot of times they're referred to as a suffix or suffix. And mem is one of them. So in other words, when mem appears at the end of a word, we're going to use a final form, which we're looking at right here. So we're in tutorial 6, if I didn't already say that. This first letter is going to be our final mem. Anywhere where we use the equivalent of the English M, that's the pronunciation this will get, at the end of a letter, or the end of a word, we'll use this final form. These other two are vowel marks. This first one is a cholam vav. This kind of looks like a hockey stick turned upside down. That is your vav. We'll learn that. That is a letter. We'll learn it in another video. But when it appears with a dot to the top of it, it acts like a vowel mark. It's called a cholam vav, or cholam vav, and it gets the equivalent of the English O. The next one is shuruk or shuruk, and it's very similar, except the dot appears over to the left. When we see that, we get like a double O, like in the word moon. So we're going to practice all 3 of these, and before we get started though, let's practice the mem in the block script along with the final mem along with the initial mem. In the block script, the final mem just looks like a regular square, and this is kind of how I write it. Now, the initial mem that we will use anywhere in a word except at the end of a word, remember, it looked like this. So it's good to practice them together. You can get used to seeing what they look like. And when we move over to the handwriting script, you'll see that it can be quite confusing to some degree. Do the final medial or initial mem right there. Do it one more time. And then let's move over to the handwriting script. Remember that what we just did is exercise 2 here, block script. That's pretty much what we're going to read in. In modern Hebrew, the handwriting script is what you're going to write in. Now, the final mem in the handwriting script will really look more like, to me, it always looked kind of like an English P. Let me redo that a little bit, because this stem here will sometimes fall beneath the page line. And so these two are equivalent, but you can see how easy it is to sometimes confuse these two together if you're not careful. The block script initial mem with the handwriting script final mem. So be sure to practice all 4 of them. Remember, the equivalent of the initial mem in the handwriting script looked like the English capital case N. So we want to practice these. I typically write these very fast, and sometimes it comes out pretty sloppy, but that'll be our final mem. And then practice them and try not to confuse these two together. So let's work through some with the new vowel marks we just learned. So let's stick to the handwriting script. So in exercise 4, all we're going to do is use these 2 new vowel marks with the mem. If we wanted to write something equivalent to om, then we would use, in the handwriting script, I just use a straight line for the vav, and then put the dot at the top, and that gives the equivalent of the O, the vowel mark. The final mem in the handwriting script is going to look something like that. And I should probably be a little bit more careful and write that a little bit better, because it'll really look more something like that to a native Israeli. But that would be equivalent to Om. Would be the the next vowel mark with the dot to the left, and the final mem, and that would be like If we wanted to write name in Hebrew, remember, if we're going to use the mem anywhere other than at the end, we're going to use the initial or medial. In this case, be the initial form of it. I'll put the seri, the hard A vowel mark beneath, and now we're going to use the final mem. And I'm probably going to mess this up all throughout. I really wanted that stem to be a little bit longer, but so the equivalent to mem. Rome would be the resh, the O vowel mark, and then the final mem. Mood would be mem, U vowel mark, and then dalet. If I switch over to the block script and we look at exercise 5, these are two-letter words in Hebrew that do mean something. So Shem would be, first to spell it out, this is the, it's pretty bad, but this is the, Sheen. So we'll put a Shin dot to the top right. Seren down below. And then the final mem. This in Hebrew means name. And if you've ever heard Jews referring to Hashem, what they're invoking upon God by calling him by the name. That's really what Hashem means, the name. So they're invoking upon the name of God when they refer to Hashem. Ram is going to be a Resh, a Kamatz, and then the final Mem. And that refers to high, like a high place. Dam is going to be the Dalet, the Chamatz, and then final Mem, and that is blood. Sam is more of an imperative. Oops, look at it. This is the scene, so we want to put the scene dot to the top right. I'm sorry, top left, and final Mem, and that means puts, like he puts, or, well, I said imperative, really it's just a verb. Puts the book on the table, that sort of thing. Sham, very similar, except this time we're going to use a sheen, and I forgot to put the kamatz down below there. We're going to do that here again, and then final mem, and that means there. And that's a pretty common word in modern Hebrew, well, Hebrew altogether, I suppose. The exercise 6 is little 3-letter words. Well, actually 3-letter words, 3 consonants, I suppose. Although the vowel marks for the O and the U actually appear like another letter. Shalom, you hear me saying that all the time. In handwriting script, we're going to have a sheen, kamatz down below, lamed, the O vowel mark, and then the final mem. Shalom in Hebrew really means peace, but you'll hear it with respect to hello, welcome. It's a greeting. Okay, the next 4 words are really 2 words in different conjugation of 2 verbs. Lovesh, we talked about lavash in the last lesson. Let's do it real quick. Lavash, let's do it again. Was lamed, chamatz, and the vet, and then patah, and then sheen. This, we said, meant wore, like he wore an article of clothing. So it's a simple past tense conjugation of the verb to wear. The present tense version of it is lovesh, and here you use a lamed, an O vowel mark, and then a vet, hard A vowel mark, and then the sheen. This means wears, and that would be a male, like he wears. He wore, he wears. So you see the changing of the vowels, the vowel marks, changes the tense of the verb. The same goes for lamed and lamad. We did lamad as well, and that meant studied. So let's do it again. We have a lamed and kamatz, mem, patah, and then a dalet. That meant studied. So if we wanted to change that to the present tense, and typically you learn the present tense first. Um, when you're working with the verbs, you'll go through actually all of them, I suppose. But this would be studies, and here, just like Lovish, we're going to use the lamed. Then we're going to use, instead we're going to use the O vowel mark, mem, harde, or seri, and then the dalet. And I'm not going to get too far into it. I just wanted to show you as an example of changing the vowel marks changes the composition of the verb. There's uh, well, we'll just hold off on talking about conjugating verbs a little bit later, but there's several verbs that are like this in Hebrew. You'll have three letters, and in the past tense, it'll just be a matter of using a kamatz and a patah down below. But in the and that let me just say that would be your past tense. And then for the present tense, it's just a matter of this three letters, and then instead we're going to either have cholam vav in the middle between the first and the second letter, and then a hard A vowel mark or the seri down below. Now let me just go ahead and show you this as well. This is sometimes optional, the cholam vav. Sometimes you just see the dot by itself. Let me show you a word, although we haven't learned all of these letters yet. In Hebrew, uh, this is one way of writing the word the word Adonai or Lord. But and you don't know, we haven't gone over any of the only letters we've gone over so far are these two right here, the dalet and the cholam vav. Well, it's very typical to drop the vav and just stick the dot next to the preceding consonant, and then we'll talk about the rules to that a little bit later. So in other words, we could write this like a dalet and just the dot right over there. Instead of coming right to the top, it kind of comes to the top left, and then something like that, and that means Adonai as well. So sometimes the vowel will drop, and we'll talk about why a little bit later in more advanced lessons, but just make a mental note of that. So practice the mem, the two vowel marks, and we'll pick up in the next tutorial. Thanks for watching.